This event the purpose of this event is to bring together and unite amazing organizations. Huge shout out to Crossgates Mall for giving us the mall. They have actually remarked that they've never had this many tables set up at any time in this mall. So we go down in history, we broke it, we got 101 tables set up right now. And this event is definitely not a ta-da moment for me. This is for all of these folks here, all of these folks that have served, all of the youth that is going to serve, and all of the people that we are remembering today.
In Albany County, we have over 20,000 veterans that make this place their home, that serve their country, come back, and I don't want to say live ordinary lives, but come back into the community, fabric of the community, give back in so many different ways, and a lot of them don't even really talk about their military service or what they did. And not saying this crowd here, because this crowd's different than most other crowds, if you even just take a moment and talk to people and you say, freedom isn't free, our rights aren't free, we can believe in who we want, we can be whoever we want to be, you can live wherever you want to live. You can do whatever you want to do, and that's because less than 1% of our population serves in the military. And if you think of that, we have up to 330 million Americans in this country. Actually, a little over 328 million to be exact. And yet, 1% gives us our freedoms that we enjoy every day, to disagree or agree with them. So when I became county executive, I thought it was a great program. Former Congressman Mike McNulty and county executive then Michael Hoblock started honoring deceased veterans, to let people know their loved ones might be gone, but we're not going to forget the sacrifice and what they did for this country. And I said, what better way to take somebody and thank them when they're still here for what they've done? Because I started talking to people at these events, and I'm like, oh, how'd you know the person? They're like, well, I really didn't, but they helped me at the VFW post, or they helped me do this, or I was down and out, and I never really had the opportunity to say thank you to them. What better way to take time out of our day to thank these veterans that are here today?
Under God's grace, we are gathered here today to honor 3 humble heroes of our military. Marine Corps Sergeant Terence Kindlon, Airman 3rd Class Eugene Loparco, Marine Corps Captain Nils Mockler. They have become leading role models in our community. We are here to celebrate their continued service, those who have already proven their courage, their nobility, their strength, and their loyalty to flag and country. We are here to share in their unswerving and continued compassion even after experiencing the unthinkable. These heroes stand proud in a world where respect and principle seems to be waning. They have picked up the check so that the rest of us may enjoy the land in which we live. Rising above apathy and discrimination, they returned home to their family, finding better ways to educate, to heal, to share in their newfound wisdoms, in the ever-growing hope that their families, communities, and country would flourish in peace and prosperity. God bless these veterans and all of our veterans, those still with us, and those who gave their last full measure to protect us. In sincerest humility, we thank each and every one of them. God bless America. Amen.
This is the 12th event that we've had since 2013. To really recognize people that, again, do great things and have continued to do great things. And we're just going to get a glimpse of what they've done for the community and what they mean. And you know what? It's when you think you know everything about everyone and you read a little bit more and you're like, wow. Wow. I'll say to everyone in this audience, when you feel you can't give back, you can. And the one thing I love about this county the most, and I believe this is the best county in the state of New York and in this nation, is the fact. It's the people. It's your neighbors that help mow your lawn if you're not around, bring the garbage can back in, help you carry the groceries, might bring you to the doctor's. It's the little things that people do for you that mean so much. So it's an honor to have this ceremony, to thank them. And I do want to say, most importantly, it's the partnerships too that I have with the county legislature, with Town of Albany, Kindlon, Mayor Sheen's office, Bruce Hidley. It's working together, but one common thing. We can agree to disagree on different topics, but we all agree on one thing when it comes to veterans. Hands down, we do what we can for them.
You know, there'll be times where I'll be sitting in a courtroom somewhere, and a man will be brought in, surrounded by cops and draped in shackles. And after the judge reads a long list of charges, the man will yell, "I'm gonna hire Kindlon!" And invariably, everyone turns and looks at me with a smirk, and I very knowingly shake my head and say, no, no, no. That guy doesn't want me. He wanted a man who's been a thumb in the eye of the powerful. He wants a man who is a rampart against inevitability. A guy who has been in firefights and foxholes. He wanted the fighter, Terry Kindlon. Ladies and gentlemen, Terry Kindlon.
What I'd like to say is this: nobody hates war any more than somebody who's been in one. That's my first point. My second point is, after my family, my highest loyalty is, and I've been out for 51 years now, still to the United States Marine Corps, and those of you who are Marines in the audience don't need to have that explained.
Hoorah!
And finally, a thought that has stayed with me every single day of late, and that is this. Take notes here. Write this one down. To be in the military is to serve with men and women who eagerly accept responsibility rather than shirk it. My son Lee has an interesting background of his own. He went to an Ivy League type college called Williams, and then he went to law school thereafter. And one day when he was a first year law student, he called me up and he said, I've decided to join the Marine Corps. Well, Bill Clinton was president, and the year was 2000. I said, great idea. Not a great idea at the time. And he did. And of course, you know where this story leads. 2.5 years, 3 years later, he was in Fallujah, which was not a great place to be in that era. But anyway, it is a great privilege to be here. Mr. County Executive, I thank you for that. Congressman McNulty, you are my hero. I mentioned to Mike that Lee was serving in Iraq, and he actually made the effort to go find him there when he was on one of his trips. And I thank you, and that's all I've got to say. So God bless.
Gene is a whiz, not only at a camera, but at a computer, something that I'm terrible at, and he can attest to it. But through his guidance and through his tenacity and through his sheer will, he literally picks everybody up when you're down. There are two things that a lot of people out there don't know about Gene Loparco. I've never heard him say a bad word, swearing. But then he's an Air Force guy, and nobody swears in the Air Force anyway. And I've never heard him speak unkindly of another person. And these two things are what make Gene Loparco special. He is not only a photographer, but considers himself a historian, that long after all of us in this room are gone, those pictures that he has taken of those families on the honor of vet ceremonies, on the building of the Vietnam Memorial, on Gold Star family affairs and different events, those memories will live on for years.
I am proud of being one of my family's veterans. The Loparcos, the Nuzos, Rosanos, the Lucas, they all served our country since World War I. My grandfather Eugenio was a cook in the Army in the state of Washington. My father was in the Navy. He was World War II era, but at the height of his career as giving back to the veterans, my dad was a national commander with ITAM. ITAM is Italian American War Veterans. Back in '61, he was invited to attend a luncheon with JFK at the White House because of the arrival of Prime Minister Fanfani, and my father sat next to, and here's another connection with Terry and with Captain. He sat next to Felix de Weldon. He's a sculptor and did the Iwo Jima statue in Washington, D.C. So you see how the Marine connection is through our life, whether we meant it or not. My many uncles on both sides of the families served in World War II. As a Marine, my cousin during Vietnam, I was the only cousin from this area that went to Vietnam. Is Christmas of '67 to Christmas of '68, and yes, I was there for the Tet Offensive. I'm proud to know and glad to know that Terry made it through that Tet Offensive. Many didn't.
He gave back so much when he came back. He does so many things. He very intelligent, and he always shared his knowledge with everybody, with no matter what he did. I told him I wasn't going to say much about him because I know he wants to say something very special, but he is special. All of our Marines are, all of our veterans are, and we thank you for what you do, because without you we wouldn't be here today, and we deeply appreciate that. So without further ado, Grandpa.
Iwo Jima, we were high school kids. I was 18, 122 pounds, and I was not the youngest, and I was not the skinniest and scrawniest, and we had a chance. Damn it, that's it. We had a chance to answer, to get up and say, yeah, I will do it. High school kids. I had an intelligence spec number, so I sat in on the briefing. That map of Iwo Jima had 2 lines on it, D-Day and D1, and that was it. The 2 easiest days in Marine Corps history. Didn't quite work out that way. We took out 1 dump truck load of bodies every single day, average 200 killed kids. They didn't weigh very much, so you could fit it in the trucks. I was about as far away from Mount Suribachi as you could get. I was all the way up on the airport. I was tripwire. And I was pretty much where John Bassanoni was killed. That's how far up I was. Iwo Jima has nothing. There are no trees, no buildings, no nothing. So I could see Suribachi. They talk about all the noise and the applause and everything when the flag went up. You couldn't hear anything. We had no radio, we had no communication, everything was out. Communication consisted of going up to somebody and screaming in his ear, what's going on? All right? But all of a sudden everybody on the beach stretched out, was standing up and stopped. And I looked up, I'm sorry. I started firing, okay? And as I got in trouble by telling a group of high school kids in Georgia until we get back home and finally had sex, that was the greatest thing that ever happened to any of us. Okay? So, 50 years later, I go back. Now, the flag, there were 2 flags. The first one, the guys fought their way up, fantastic. They had a small flag, they set it up. You couldn't see it, nobody knew. Whoever it was, and everybody wanted to take credit for it, got a flag off one of the broached ships and a big pole, and got up there, and a civilian photographer, Joe Rosenthal, who had a really great camera, and he was a really good photographer, and he shot the whole sequence of the flag raising. There were at least 5. I saw them all when I got back to New York. They were perfect. The last one was the icon. That was incredible. So I went back on the 50th, and we went up, being 70 years old at that time, and the young Marines tried to help us up on the truck. After the first one got his hand bitten off, they stopped doing that.